Afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for coming. A quick question first. How many of you, is this your first LAM event? Most of you. How many of you, is this one of your first kink events? Bit of a trend going on with this. Every single month we ask, it's a room full of people who are new to kink. Okay? And the first thing I'm going to do is do something that we kind of do in the policies and procedures and say, welcome. And actually thank you for doing this correctly. Because no one hatched out of an egg knowing everything about kink. And equally, kink means something different to all of us. So this orientation is really about helping people integrate into the community. And it's one of the things that LAM has become kind of leading the way for, because we get such a large number of people who come through and explore kink via the event. Okay, so please start off by patting yourselves on the back for doing it correctly. Okay, there's far too many people who read 50 Shades of Gobshite or whatever, think they know everything about kink, come out, act like a complete asshat, and find it's not the community for them. So actually coming out and doing this correctly is a really good step in the right direction, okay? Because it shows that you want to come and learn, you understand that you're new to it, and therefore you're not likely to fall into a lot of the pitfalls that other people do, okay? Number of people that I've seen, I've got this bullwhip I bought on eBay. And I'm like, yep, nope. How long have you been kinky? Oh, a couple of weeks now. And I'm like, you've got to understand that that's the kind of toy it takes years to learn to use. And to use it safely, there are very few people in this country who I would say go and talk to that person about whips because they're really good. Okay? Count them on the fingers of one hand. So someone coming out with a whip going, oh, I bought this last week, they can't crack it consistently, definitely a warning sign. Okay, now, if you haven't read this document, and there is a new version of it just up on the website yesterday, LAM is very much like a framework organisation, okay? We want everyone to come and have the most awesome time that's possible, and that requires some rules, okay? The first rule is no photography, okay? Don't want to see you having a selfie, don't want to see you taking a picture of something. If you want a picture, ask a stall holder, ask a crew member. Because the first thing they're going to do is make sure that no one else is in the background of the shot. Why? Because people can lose their jobs because they're kinky, okay? While we still live in that world, this will always be a no photography event. Because to allow photographs would exclude those people, okay? I'm not prepared to exclude anyone unless they're naughty, and in which case we'll politely ask you to leave, okay? So no photography, number one rule. If you see anyone doing anything that you don't think's in the rules, talk to the crew members. We're all wearing crew shirts or an armband. We're easily identifiable. We will either explain to you why, oh, your perception of that wasn't quite right, or we'll go and fix it before they make the mistake again, okay? But we are a community. It requires everyone working on that to maintain those standards, okay? So if you want this to be the kind of environment you find homely and great to hang out in, help us to maintain that, okay? So, no photography. Second, treat everyone as a human being, okay? And I don't care whether you're Dom or sub, until you negotiate that position with other people, you are human beings, okay? So be civil, be polite, try and understand that, you know, there are aspects to other people that aren't immediately obvious, okay? We get an awful lot of neurodivergent people in the kink community. Why is that? Because neurodivergent people like rules and structure, okay? It's our fucking wet dream, okay? So understand that there are some people who are going to have different ways of thinking than you are, okay? Now, there is no dress code to LAM, other than no military uniforms from the era of 1938 to 1945, okay? Now, that's because, again, it's a very controversial subject, but the way we look at it is exactly the same as wearing a nurse's uniform is not going to make you medically qualified, okay? I'm more concerned about the horrible, nasty people with bad attitudes who don't wear obvious symbols, okay? I still don't want them turning up here because they're not generally as accepting of the rest of us as they should be, okay? There's a clear set of rules for the party, okay? A protocol for playing in our dungeon, okay? It is not a free-for-all, okay? This isn't the last half an hour of a swingers club where everyone's rushing around frantically trying to find someone to hook up with and play, okay? It's much more of an organized and civilized environment. We generally would say if you're here looking for people to play with, be social during the day, okay? There's nothing worse than being a pesterer going, oh, can we play at the after party, because, you know, you've already met some awesome people, had some great conversations, and you probably want to play with one of them, not some random pestering person, okay? If you're not sure about anything in the dungeon, please ask one of the dungeon monitors. They are there to make sure that everything is being done correctly. One of the key dungeon rules is no sexual activity, okay? And no nudity. This is a licensed premises. The law states you may not have your nipples, if they are female, out in this venue. It's their rule, we have to abide by it. We're not trying to repress people's expression. We have to operate within the laws of the land, okay? We personally don't necessarily agree with it, but it is the way it is. Sorry, a little bit of refreshment. Thank you. Oops, did I not? Thank you. Okay. When you are playing, we would advise you to set your own safe word. If you don't set one, the universal one is red, okay? If you're playing or interacting with someone and they say red, stop, okay? And if you're new to it, open your ears and listen, okay? Because if you sit there and say, oh, I'm new, I didn't know, then that's giving an excuse. It's much better to take some personal responsibility and say, yeah, sorry, if I fucked up, I apologize. How do I avoid doing that again? Okay? Because we're great believers in personal responsibility when it comes to kink. Okay? We are all responsible for our own safety. We are all responsible for doing our own due diligence and checking. Please understand, the more extreme the activities you are going to get involved in, the more due diligence and checking you need to do, okay? A little bit of light spanking over a pair of jeans or leathers really isn't going to do much. However, a 2-hour spanking session and paddling and all the rest is going to leave bruises, okay? You can't really turn around and say, I agreed to do that for 2 hours, but I never expected a bruise, okay? Things like that are going to happen, okay? We have wristbands for social interaction. If you are wearing a green one, it means you're happy for anyone to come up and talk to you. If you're wearing a yellow one, it means you'd only like to be approached by people who already know you, okay? And the red ones, please don't approach me at all, okay? And if someone does approach you and you're wearing a color other than green, just go like that. Don't get upset with it, just point it out, and if necessary, correct them and say, look, you didn't read the rules, the wristbands are really important, and this is why we wear them, okay? And equally, there's no point in going up and going, why aren't you wearing a green wristband, okay? It's a personal choice, okay? Can't really badger people into it. And equally, just because you're wearing a green one doesn't mean you're going to say yes to all approaches, okay? You have the right to say no and no thank you and move on from there, okay? Dotted throughout this, there are also some competitions and stuff that we run. We really do run this event for the traders as well as the members of the community. Okay, so we have a competition called Show Us What You Got, EWE. And when you leave LAM and go home, if you've bought some new stuff, take some pictures of it, put it up on social media, tag the event and the manufacturer, and there's a chance that you may win some free tickets to the next month and some cash to come and spend again, okay? Because actually, when you think about it, these are all small businesses, okay? They're making stuff, they're packing stuff, they're shipping stuff, they're designing stuff, they're marketing their business and doing everything. So the little bits that we can do to help as a community really help them massively. And equally, as Kinksters, God, we all love to show off. Look at my new toys. Look what I got. Look at the fun I'm going to have with this. Okay? And equally, when people are browsing through your profile and they look and they recognize quality toys, as opposed to eBay and Ann Summers and the nasty stuff, they realize that you're a little bit more serious. Okay? If your entire collection is one of those leather paddles with the word slut in it, you've probably, you know, maybe been buying off the internet or possibly in Soho. You'll find paddles with slut written on around here, but you won't find the traditional basic ones. You'll find ones with Lego imprints or raised parts, because people aren't just happy with that simple basic, they want something for themselves, okay? If you have an idea of what's in your head, but the stall is providing it in the wrong color, ask them if the color that you want is available, okay? Most of my toys are in black and silver, okay? Almost the entire collection, okay? Because to me, black and silver is a really simple color code. I like it, and therefore I've built a collection around that. That's not to say I'm not going to have one or two objects that are different, but actually, for me, if it's a toy that I'm going to play with, it becomes an extension of me. So I want it to be that object that I fall in love with, as opposed to, well, it's just one of those things that I got off the internet, okay? And you might have toys literally for a lifetime. I'm lucky that a number of people have come up to me and said, look, not got long left, so I'm getting rid of my toys. Someone gave this to me in the 1960s. Would you please be the next custodian? Okay? I've seen pairs of cuffs that are over 100 years old. Okay? And a pair of cuffs, beautiful brown leather. The leather itself is probably 100 years old, so it needed a lot of care and conditioning. But I recognized that the little offset diamond squares, the greeny blue color meant that they could only possibly be silver. Okay, and this is something that someone had made probably 100 years ago. It had passed through several other people before it came into my collection. Okay, and literally, because it's an organic material, you can rework and condition the leather and have another lifetime's use out of it. Okay, so if you're buying toys, my big advice is buy things that you are comfortable with and that feel right for you. Okay. If you think it's something that is going to be massively part of your repertoire, then it's worth that little bit of an extra investment. Okay, simple as that. But equally, out there you will find floggers for 10 or 15 pounds, and then at the other end of the spectrum you'll find them over 100 pounds. Okay, I'm not suggesting that if you're brand new to this you rush out and spend thousands of pounds, because again, you want to learn. Okay, you wouldn't enter a sport and suddenly buy, you know, a carbon fiber bike, okay, just because you fancied, you know, the odd trip around the block. Okay, be sensible with it. There is an entire section in here on what we call kink plus and consent, okay? At the end of the day, kink isn't just what it means to us, it's what it means to other people. So for years now, we've been encouraging people to not say, hey, are you into spanking or bondage? But to say, what does spanking mean to you? Because that way you'll actually get some feedback, okay? You'll get an understanding that actually for you, spanking is a light, rhythmic, methodical thing. For me, it's probably, you know, running across the room with a decent run up to get a decent swing into it, okay? Now, if you'd said yes and we're expecting the first kind of spanking and I deliver the second, we're on a mismatch. So talk to people about what their kinks mean to them, okay? And again, with consent, it works in both directions. There's a great resource, I think I might have it in here, the Wheel of Consent. Okay, here we go. And that for every action and interaction, there is an opposite side of it, okay? You could be the most awesome dominant in the world, but in fact, to play, you need a switch or a submissive to work with, okay? So think about what it means on both sides of it, okay? Because at the end of the day, it's those connections that you build and grow are the ones that you enjoy the most, okay? If it's a case of literally just trying to scratch an itch, oh my God, I've got to tie someone up today, and running around to find a person to tie up, you're not necessarily going to have an awesome shared experience, okay? You might get what you're looking for, but are they necessarily going to get what they want out of it as well, okay? There's a whole load of kind of complaints and disagreements parts behind this, and this is to be incredibly transparent and say how we will handle concerns, okay? We hope that they don't happen, but when they do, at least you know that there is a framework and mechanism for resolving things, okay? If you're in a relationship and it breaks down, okay, we're not going to take a side. We can't, okay, because the event has to be open to everyone. So if it's really bad, we're going to ask you to make a decision. Do you want to alternate months, or does one of you want to stay till 3:30, and then the other one come at 4 o'clock, okay? Because at the end of the day, it's one of the worst aspects of some corners of our community is where the local event organizer becomes kind of Lord Pooh Bar, okay? Oh, you're not one of my friends, so you're not allowed to my munch anymore, okay? It's hardly open and accepting, okay? And over the years, I've seen far too many people take sides in interpersonal disputes, and at the time they can be really fiery and aggressive, but then years later people realize, oh yeah, we were both in a bad place and we were both responsible, and yet for a while everyone is divided as a person A or a person B, and that's not healthy, okay? We want everyone to mix and understand, okay? We have information on there if you're a social media influencer and you go, oh my God, I love LAM and I want to come and do something here. Yep, we can work with you to generate that and give you that space. Okay, but please understand, if you rock up on the day and say, I've got 10,000 followers on Instagram and I want to shoot a video, nope. Because we're organized people. We need to make sure that this fits in. We need to make sure that, you know, you're not one of those kink shamers who's just doing it for clickbaiting, okay? And then finally, a couple of other ways to support LAM. You may have seen when you got tickets that there's an option to get a ticket for someone on low income. We collect those pool of tickets, and anyone who contacts us and says, for whatever reason, they've lost their job, they're on benefits, but they still want to come out and be social, then we will provide them with a ticket so that they can do that. And then two last things. One, because it's an open policy, if you look at it and you think, actually, this is something that you've missed, use that. Let us know, we'll look at it, we'll take it on board, and we'll bring it up to speed if it's required. Okay, the final thing, and this is something we've just literally launched this month, is a way of supporting LAM through Patreon or Ko-fi. In moving between venues, we've realised that the landscape for venues in London has changed so dramatically in the last 2-3 years that this may not be sustainable unless we change the way that we fund it. Okay, so what we're doing is saying, if you support us on Patreon and Ko-fi, you will get advanced access to the workshops and the content that we put out. If you give us a subscription of £8 or more, you can come to the party and after party for free whenever you want. Okay, because actually that helps us keep that income so that we can get larger venues without having to put the ticket prices and stuff like that up. So if you are interested in supporting, those are the best ways. A couple of final quick things. If anyone's looking for the toilets, you come out of here and they're just round the next corner to the right, and that includes the accessible toilets there as well. There's obviously bar and food upstairs, stalls everywhere around here, and please take the opportunity, okay? It's almost like going to the lanes in Brighton. You want to go into all the little corners because you are going to find stalls tucked away. There's an amazing one called F3 Works in the back corner there. You'd be really upset if you missed it, okay? Because their way of making floggers is just, yeah, it's kind of special, okay? But go and have a look because they're tucked in and we don't want them to be missed. Okay, outside of that, if you have any questions, as I said, don't hesitate to grab a crew member. We're here to make sure that you have the best day that's possible. Okay, and if you don't, well, we want to know how to make sure that that is not going to be the case the next time you come, or if there's something that we can do to improve it for others. Okay, so please, if you haven't read it yet, spend a little bit of time doing so, and the least of the reasons for that is you could win something, okay? And let's face it, who doesn't want a little bit of extra shopping money, particularly since I don't think there's any of you who are going to leave here going, well, there was nothing that I really fancied, okay? It doesn't happen around here, okay? People generally leave going, oh my God, I'm going to need that promotion at work. I'm going to need extra overtime because my God, Jed Phoenix trousers are just, you know, the mutts nuts, okay? Right, any questions? No, good. Hopefully it's all pretty clear and self-explanatory. As I said, please crack on, have the best possible day today, and enjoy the venue. It's our first time here, so any feedback you can give us is greatly appreciated, because like all of these things, we see it from one perspective, but it's actually how does it work for you as guests, how did it work for the traders, and even how it worked for the venue themselves. Okay, cool, there we go. Crack on and have an awesome day.